Sky, you picked for your wealth word connection. Tell me why you chose that word.
Wealth is measured not in money, but in experiences and relationships and the stories that we leave behind. And so I think for me, that connection is a big part of that. My partner Jeff calls me the kibbutznik kid because in a kibbutz you do everything together and it's much more about the community than about the individual person. And I do sort of feel like that is what I love sharing and talking about. And that's what leaves me fulfilled. It's not about dollars, it's about being fulfilled in my heart. That's what makes me wealthy.
And how has your idea of connection changed over your career?
That is a good question. I think that when you're younger, I was much more engaged and involved in making my career happen and getting tenure. And so, that was really what was first and foremost. And I think raising a family and as you age, I think you're looking for connection and community in different places. So I started looking for community outside of my teaching, outside of just kids and immediate family. I think that that's super important to look for what those connections can be because they're different at different stages in our development and our lives. And one of the things that I realized was I was department chair when I was in my early to mid 40s. And I felt like my life was all about work. And I thought, I can't keep doing this anymore. I need to have more people that are outside of this very small group that I have. And I started doing a women's dinner the first Monday of every month where I would just connect with other women. And that was so fulfilling. That's still ongoing. It's been about 15 years at this point. And it's just amazing. So I think you can change what that means for you and just find those ways to make that happen. Don't expect that it's going to happen on its own. Sometimes you have to be proactive about it. And my way of being proactive was doing something very simple by having this women's potluck dinner the first Monday of every month. And it will be different for other people, but find what it is that allows you to do that throughout your life.
And it's fascinating because there are so many connections. We have our family connections, our business connections, and for you and I, those people that you're doing the interviews, you're talking, and it's a total neat, different way to connect with somebody. Do you have a particularly favorite story of one of the connections you've made while you're behind the camera?
Well, I like to say that through the film, my grandmother gave me the gift of 40 new grandparents because I feel like everyone that I interviewed became a part of my family. And, there were some people that I became closer to. For those of you who haven't seen the film, there was one gentleman, Lucky Louie, he called himself, and he made fresh mozzarellas every day for his daughter's deli. And I'm Italian, and we just hit it off. And I would hang out with him even long after the film. I mean, all these people have become my friends that I stay in touch with and have lunch with and hang out with. But him in particular, he just was a sweet, sweet man, and he touched my life in ways that I can't even imagine. So I think when you do a project like this, you do become really close to the people that are in the film and that you've interviewed because you get to know them on a deeper level. As you mentioned, I'm going in there and I'm asking them some really pointed questions, and they're opening themselves up and making themselves very vulnerable to tell their stories. I felt like what a gift it was that they did that for me. And then for them, what a gift it was to have their stories shared because, people want to be heard and want to feel like their life has meaning. And in sharing those stories, in many ways, it validates who they are and what they've done with their lives.
Back to what we just mentioned before, it's like that passion project. It doesn't matter for yourself as the artist where the money's coming from. It's about telling that story. It's about doing the thing that makes you happy because there's that burning passion within.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
there are, there are people out there who want to know, Sky, how did you get on PBS? There has to be something coming back in for that hard work. But how did you?
Right. I like to say, and this was one of my alum that came up with this phrase, Sarah Malley is her name. I want to give her credit. Be respectfully persistent. I think that if you have a passion and you think you have something good to share with the world, I was respectfully persistent. It took me many years to get to that point. It happened. It didn't happen overnight. We had a very successful theatrical run where we were rated 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. We did a screening with AARP. We had a successful community and educational screening run for a couple of years. And then finally the PBS broadcast. And I'm really happy to say that PBS actually picked up the film for another 4 years. My original contract was 3 years and they picked it up up for another 4 years. I've been super, super lucky, but I think it's also a bit of being respectfully persistent when I wanted to follow my dreams and make something happen.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
A beautiful achievement. I mean, Sky, what kind of advice would you give to someone who is looking for that connection, not necessarily through wealth of intergenerational wealth, but intergenerational connection?
That is a good question. And I think in the book, I interviewed 40 people who are doing really interesting work connecting generations. So I would say that could be a first place to look. There's links to the websites of all those organizations. Get involved with an organization that's already doing that, or get involved in volunteering with a group that does things that you enjoy doing that will have a variety of age groups. And that's where you can find those intergenerational connections, and you will find like-minded people. And what you'll find is that there's that commonality, and maybe the only difference is age. And you have these intergenerational connections that can come up very naturally. I think that that's the important thing. But check out the book, check out some of the things that are already going on and what you can be involved in or what you can create in your own community, because maybe it's something that you get really inspired by and want to create your own intergenerational project.
I love that because I used to teach ballroom dancing to a senior community, and
Mhm.
stories that I would learn. I have jotted notes down about them. I live just outside of Washington, D.C. So, wow, the amount of brain power here of these older people who want to still share stories with each other. Did you ever think that this would happen?
No, and my grandmother was, I don't know how many people remember, there was a Wendy's ad for the Wendy's, like burger joint. And at the end of it, there was this woman that'd say, "Where's the beef?" And she got her like 15 minutes of fame. She was an older woman. And my grandmother was obsessed with that. She wanted to get her 15 minutes of fame, and she has gotten that and way more. And I just love that my grandmother is the face of Lives Will Live. You can see on the background here, that's what PBS used, and it's on Amazon and iTunes. And now the book, she's on the cover. I love that. It just makes me so happy and makes me smile every time I see it.
She didn't know that this happened. She had already passed by the time all this happened.
Right. So my grandmother, I really wanted to have the film on the big screen as soon as I could. My grandmother was the oldest person in the film, but there were plenty of other people that were aging. And so I worked with our local film festival here in San Luis Obispo, and we had a sneak preview of the film, which was wonderful because we got a lot of feedback. We did it in the largest theater in town, 850 people, sold out. My grandmother meted and greeted everyone that came into the theater that night. And there were 29 of the 40 people that were in the film were there along with their families. I was smiling so much that my cheeks literally hurt from smiling. And my grandmother was there to share that with me. I mean, I cannot imagine anything better. She passed away 6 weeks later, peacefully passed away 6 weeks later. And my mom always says that she thinks my grandmother lived long enough to see the film on the big screen. And I think that's probably true because there was nothing wrong with her when she died. She stopped eating and drinking, and she said she was done and she was gone in 2 days. So I feel really blessed and grateful that she was able to see it on the big screen. I mean, what a night that was, and that's a memory that I will cherish forever.
She became the movie star.
Yes, she did.
Sylvia Torstein here. So good to see me again. Listen, have you been watching this interview with Sky? Amazing. A professor and a filmmaker? I've been in a few films in my day. There's more to come with it. Anyway, listen. Her words, storytelling. I love about storytelling as a health word. I've got a few stories to tell. Some I can share, some I can't. And then her wealth word, connection. Who doesn't love to connect with other people? Then resilience is a happiness. Oh, standing on top of that mountain, climbing it again, falling off, and climbing it again. Resilience. Well, however you see resilience. But it's, amazing. I like a shining beacon. Keep watching, enjoy, and subscribe here to Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness. And don't forget me, Sylvia Torstein.
Stay tuned and watch part 3 to learn about the happiness word for this interview. Subscribe and click the link below to find out about bonus tracks and how to join our community.